Hey, all you magical beings out there, welcome in or welcome back. My name is Tara, and I've been reading tarot for over 2 decades. My intentions are to shed light on the unknown and provide confirmation for what is already known. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So grab your snacks, your crystals, or your cat, and let's see what cosmic mischief is about today. So guys, for this reading today, I did a pre-poll as usual. And the topic that Spirit wants to talk about is a being that must be found, that's a part of someone's family, and there's a conflict resolution that needs to occur. The plot of this story revolves around a tragedy. So a story where the main character who has flaws experiences a downfall, often due to their own choices. And then the obstacle involved is an intellectual obstacle. So riddles, mysteries, secrets, critical differences of beliefs, values, and attitudes, which we will get into all of that. As for the types of conflict that came up, we pulled up water scarcity, racism. Water scarcity and racism. And the resolution, the conflict resolution, is acknowledgement. So then we're going to move on to the stakes at hand. We got remaining in chaotic ignorance versus gaining valuable knowledge, person versus the supernatural stakes. And then we got affecting society negatively or positively by refusing to conform, person versus society stakes. And then we got a better, healthy psychological, professional, or physical life, person versus person stakes. And lastly, we have how one's changing nature affects others or the environment around the character, negative or positive, person versus self stakes. Okay, then I asked Spirit if there's any secrets that surrounding this being that must be found. And I was directed to pull 6 cards from my secrets deck. And we got has stalked someone before, sexual infidelity, stuck in a rut, this secret is not contained in this deck, unknown, a specific story you keep a secret, and self-harm. Then I asked how many different types of beings are involved in this situation. And I was directed to pull 4 from my beings deck. And we got your fiance, a warlock, a basilisk, which that's like a reptilian basically. Your maternal aunt, biological. And then lastly, to start off the reading, I pulled from the Lilith Shadow Work deck, and we got Black Moon Aquarius. One of your first memories may be of being cast out from others. Standing out may be a great source of anxiety, but learning to love your quirks and your weirdness will make you whole again. So my instincts was starting this reading, I feel like it has something to do with when we're saying sexual infidelity. I feel like somebody here may have something going on in their family where somebody cheated. They had a child from a mixed background, so like from another race, and for some reason, I guess they were grown up around racist people, and they're not thinking that they're going to get accepted, so they have been hiding this child. could also be the child themselves is hiding their ethnicity because they're ashamed of it, due to thinking that society is going to ridicule them. Now, we're also dealing with something involving the supernatural. So I'm also thinking that maybe this person died that was hidden from the family. And their spirit is not resting and causing problems. So figuring out like who that being is would help. So I was also drawn to this book, page 8, and on page 8 it talks about creating sigils to call forth the power of names and sigil. Naming something gives you power over it. By identifying a spirit, you can interact with it. The ancient Egyptians understood the power of names very well. So it just basically goes into naming a spirit. So essentially, we need to figure out who this person is. Hopefully, by the end of the reading, you'll have a better idea. Okay, so we want to know more about these secrets and the mystery that's going on here. The differences of beliefs, values, and attitudes. Actually, we're going to do that first. Beliefs, values, attitudes first. So, what are the values that are being highlighted that are concerning this situation? There's 3 values. Individual, self-direction. Okay. So that kind of relates to how one's changing nature affects others or the environment. And then a better, healthy psychological, professional, or physical life. These are the stakes at hand. This is the values. So self-direction. We need to find the direction we're going in. That's the purpose of this. Values, political, liberalism. Okay. So usually liberals are very anti-racism. And so there's something there with that one. Feminism and identity politics. Okay, so we're dealing with somebody that's like super liberal. Or they appear to be super liberal. A specific story you keep a secret. Self-harm. Okay. Next we're gonna do beliefs in action. How many of these do we need to pull? 4. Okay. Knowledge and curiosity can lead to closed-mindedness or rejection of new information. Can lead to closed-mindedness or rejection of new information. Might discourage questioning or critical thinking in favor of dogma. Okay. Cultural and artistic expression. Inspires art, music, literature, and architecture. Enriches cultural heritage and traditions. Moral foundations theory, fairness versus cheating. And then lastly, we got theory of reality, mind-body problem, neutral monism. Fundamental nature of reality is neither mind nor matter, perhaps energy. Okay, so we got some pretty intense beliefs going on here. Alright, so we also drew from the North Node cards, and we got Leo North Node. Lessons and rewards around themes of sharing the spotlight with others, cultivating creativity and curiosity in your relationships, balance ego with humility, and releasing your people-pleasing ways. So for me, that helps a lot with understanding all of this. Basically saying that we need to be open-minded. We need to be able to step outside of our comfort zone and question things from all different angles, and not just jump to conclusions and judge things harshly based on some predisposed conditioning that we were brought up on. Okay? And to me, the release your people-pleasing ways goes with the whole fairness versus cheating. Like, okay, so we ran out of storage there. So to continue where we left off, we had Leo North Node, and I was talking about how to release your people-pleasing ways, how that could be related to the moral foundations theory and fairness and cheating. Because remember, all these values and beliefs are causing intellectual obstacles. So there's something that needs to be realized about these things that are not helping your situation. And so with the moral foundations theory, it's preferring fairness over cheating, where sometimes in life there's not always, it's not always either or. Sometimes certain situations require a moral gray, there is a moral gray area, in order for the best outcome. And I think that's part of what needs to be looked at here, is to be able to think critically and not be so harsh and judgmental and just thinking in this black and white thinking. And that could even actually be a kind of like little like weird humor that spirit is throwing out there, which actually that's what the whole shadow work was talking about too, was to love your quirks and your weirdness, and that will make you whole again. And the black and white thinking doesn't have to necessarily be about skin color. It could literally be about your moral foundations, the way you think about everything in life. So yeah, that's definitely something to take in consideration. Now, the next thing I asked was, what are the intentions of the being that must be found? So, the cards that came out, I didn't realize weren't recording still, where the person you are dealing with is acting / engaging as a karmic, malefic giver to those of the light and from those not of the light, and from those, malefic giver to those of the light and from those not of the light. So basically what that means is that this person's not acting in a admirable character or in a beneficial character. They're acting in a way that's not helping your situation. We also got being controlled by a nefarious entity / being, which that takes me back to the person versus the supernatural stakes. So that makes a lot of sense. I was saying maybe this person passed away, but maybe they aren't passed away and they're just being controlled by a nefarious entity / being. And that's why they're acting this way. It's not in their true nature, but they're being controlled. And then lastly is not guilty. So that is confirming that for me. They're not actually like consciously wanting to be this way. It's just, unfortunately, they're being controlled. Okay. So, alright, now we're gonna see what the motivations and goals are of the entity that's controlling this person. Let's see, how many? Two main motivations. Overcoming abuse and learning to trust. Okay. Avoiding certain death. Alright, so what this is telling me is that this person is being controlled by this entity because they were sexually abused by them. So we got the sexual infidelity. They're being sexually abused by them. That's just what I'm getting. And that, like, them being abused made them put a hole in their aura and made them susceptible to being controlled. And avoiding certain death. So this entity that is doing the harm is trying to keep this hidden because they know that that's the outcome. Once they're found out, they can no longer siphon off the energy of this person. Once this person's found and there's an understanding of what's really going on behind the scenes, and we determine what this entity's name is, and you call them out, and you perform a ritual to get rid of them, then they are going to be cast away. They're going to essentially die. But we don't like to necessarily like think of it in that way. We like to think of it as transmutation. So energy never really dies. It's just transformed into something else. So we're going to be stripping this energy away from this person. And then that energy is going to get cleaned and transformed into something else. Okay. So we want to know what's going on with the secret that's not contained in this deck. So I'm going to pull some of my storytelling cards just to see if we can get a little idea. Map. Negotiation. Mythological creature, and that's Sagittarius. Which represents Sagittarius or Jupiter. This is Medusa, Kraken, Dragon. Okay, and then we're going to pull some from the Storymatic, and then I'm going to try to piece this one together. Person with lots of stuffed animals. Weird. That resonates with somebody out here. Mail carrier. First day of marriage. So on the first day of marriage, somebody committed sexual infidelity and sexually abused someone. Perhaps someone that ended up running away, or the rest of the family didn't even know they were related or that they exist. So since we are called towards this map, we're gonna spin the globe and see where it lands. Maybe that can help someone out there that this is resonating with. Okay, so this is in Australia off the coast of the Great Barrier Reef by Weipia, Cape York, Penn, what is that, an I? WEIPA. Kind of like right by there. Okay. And then I'm also going to pull some of my places cards to see if we can get a better idea as well. Oh, we're not pulling 6 cards. Why? Okay, I guess we'll do 6 cards to see where this person's been, maybe. In a dungeon? Oh no, that's terrible. The back rooms. If you know, you know, but that's crazy. A meetup group. The coffee shop. So you could start there, and a coffee shop near that area. A cave. Inside a book. Interesting. Inside a book. So Spirit, is the inside of a book telling me to read something from one of my books that I have? 1 for yes, 2 for no. 4. So usually when it does that, I just do 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be no. Okay. So this inside a book is gonna be relevant to whoever this message is for, whoever this message is resonating for. There's a book that you have, or it's in a coffee shop. Maybe this person left a receipt, something like that, inside of a book at a coffee shop. They left a book behind at a coffee shop. There's a meetup group. Maybe there's a meetup group going on at a coffee shop, and then this whole situation, I think, is where the person that must be found is being hidden. This is somebody that, like, just got married. Person with lots of stuffed animals. They might collect stuffed animals and, like, hide it. That could be one of their secrets they're hiding. Okay. So, the water scarcity. Now I'm looking at that. I think that might have something to do with this location off the coast of Australia. Something with water scarcity. So maybe, well, this person that's being held in a dungeon, the dungeon might be off a cave off of the coast. And they're being held in the back of the dungeon. The back rooms is a liminal space. Usually somebody just drops down into it in this like kind of black hole, and then it brings you into this like huge space that's like goes on and on and on forever, and it's really hard to get out. So even if this dungeon's found, the back rooms where this person's being held is probably super hidden. I think they're probably being withheld from water. Or this has something to do with where the actual cave is located. Maybe the water is not really near that area. It's on the coast, but like the water's not really near that area. It's a cave where like water doesn't really go near it. Something like that. And the mail carrier, maybe a mail carrier knows something about what's going on. They've seen some suspicious things. It can't hurt to ask them. Keep an eye out for anybody you know that is a mail carrier. Alright, and then I'm just going to do a couple tarot cards, try to get some more clarification, overall message, and then we're going to wrap this reading up. Three of Wands, patience. You are one, authenticity. One of Swords, intellect. So I feel like this person that must be found is being very patient. The next card's telling me that card speaks about staying true to yourself. Basically not conforming. So this is saying like this card represents learning, like in the upright, this card represents learning about and acting out self-love and self-acceptance. People may not be accepting you for who you really are. You must learn to accept and love yourself and know that you're worth much more than people make you out to be. It is vital and empowering to accept your flaws, physical and emotional, big or small. Know and accept that everyone and everything is different just as you are. So also, this is telling me that like somebody who's watching this reading might have already experienced this and they were found, and this is a deep secret that they're keeping, and they are self-harming due to this, and Spirit wants them to know that they need to love themselves, or you need to love yourself. And despite having such trauma and tragedy happen, that doesn't define you as a person. You're so much more than that. And although you may have all these scars, and although you may be judged for being weird, quote unquote weird, going back to this, the Black Moon Aquarius, you need to embrace these things. Standing out, learning to love your quirks is going to be what brings you success, what brings you power. And then the One of Swords, intellect in reverse, is basically just talking about how you're going through, or this person that needs to be found is going through a series of mental blockages that are preventing ideas and thoughts to flow. You are overanalyzing the simplest things without probable cause. You are also overthinking things that are of no significance. So that's where we go back to this intellectual obstacle. having this mind-body problem where we really need to just let that go and stop fixating so much on things that really don't matter. At the end of the day, what really matters is healing, growing, evolving. And if nothing that's going on is serving that, including what's in your own head, then that's not worth it to continue to go down that path. And then just for some quick clarifiers, Queen of Cups on the Three of Wands. This was in the reverse, the Moon. And Six of Swords on the One of Swords. Okay, so basically this is just telling me that, like, you know, you have all the time in the world right now. You need to focus on healing yourself, or this person that's been through this needs to focus on healing themselves. And that Queen of Cups energy, it's the embodiment of soul receptivity, depth, compassion, psychic awareness, the vessel of divine love. That is all there. That is you. That is this person. And the Moon in reverse is basically, this card is essentially saying, like, be your authentic self. Be that Queen of Cups. Embody, embrace it. And the Moon in reverse is saying that you're living in this illusionment, that this is unconscious for you, and you need to make this conscious by getting past this intellectual block, the intellectual obstacle, and you need to move forward. You need to transition onto the next step of life. Stop staying stuck. Stop over judging yourself. Overcome the abuse and learn to trust. And then you're going to avoid certain death. Because, I mean, either this entity, this being that's controlling you, or this person is going to be the one that's going to die or transform into something else, or it's going to be you. And that could be physically or spiritually. And we'd rather just be spiritually to kill off the parts of ourselves that are holding us back from actually having happiness and joy. Having that better, healthy, psychological, professional, or physical life. How changing one's nature affects others or the environment. What you're doing directly affects others. And that also brings us back to the cultural and artistic expression, using our pain to create something beautiful. Using our flaws to help others that are experiencing the same thing, that are judging themselves, to not feel alone. So that's all I have for you guys for today. We're just going to clear out the energy real quick with the bells. And then we're going to close out this reading. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.